Hello everyone, and welcome to the Pancake Parlay, episode 17. We're here, and we're going to be talking about a few movies and a few TV shows and everything like that. I am the Don, and I'm here with Chatters. How's everything going in your end?
Yeah, it's good, man. It's good to be back on the podcast, man. How have you been?
Yeah, good. I think we got to schedule stuff more often and be like, man, we got to produce these things out, you know?
True. We definitely should, man.
Yeah, definitely. Once again, you can always reach us at Stitcher, Libsyn, Radio, and on YouTube in segments for a channel that's called Marketing Movies. And once again, you can always contact us at pancakeparlay@gmail.com. So today we've kind of got like I guess like a double black feature or something like that. I don't know. It's like a you know, the movies and how they used to have double features, kind of like that.
That's true. They don't do double features like in the West anymore, from my understanding. I know in a lot of other foreign countries like India and stuff, they do double features sometimes. But yeah, it's definitely something that doesn't exist anymore in the West. But yeah, we do definitely have a double black feature today with both Black Panther and Black Lightning.
They're both superhero things, and they both got black in the title. Just in case you want to know the ethnicity. You never hear anything called like White Lightning.
Well, there is actually a White Panther though in the Black Panther mythos. I forget who takes on the mantle. However, I mean, to be honest, I don't know much about the Black Panther lore outside of like, kind of what the basis of the movie kind of goes through, in terms of like, T'Challa, the main character played by Chadwick Boseman, is kind of thrust into the role as being the Black Panther, in the fictional African nation of Wakanda.
Actually, some people thought it was a real place.
Well, I mean,
it does really good convincing world building. I'll give it that. But
Yeah, it's really true. Like, I think that's like something Marvel kind of does pretty well. Like, even in I didn't like Age of Ultron, but you could believe like, okay, Sokovia, which is one of the major European cities that sound like Serbia and like Slovenia. Like it kind of sounds like those kind of countries, and you can kind of believe like, yeah, like this country exists in this world.
Or I think the Doctor Strange thing, like Tibet area, I forgot what that place was called, but around that area.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I'm pretty sure that the place in Doctor Strange is an actual thing, but it could be like me misremembering. But yeah.
Well, once again, like with that being said, a lot of these films do kind of blend, and I feel like with Black Panther, it is I guess it does kind of feel like an origin story in a sense, but like it's a different way of doing it. Instead of you like, oh look, this is my powers and this is how I'm learning it. It was more like we're gonna establish like these characters, this world, what's going on, and they kind of do it in a pretty good way. Like once again, with Black Panther, I have seen this story before, but it's not something where I'm like, oh god, again, like this thing and this thing. Like even when I was watching it, it reminded me of kind of something like Iron Man 1 in a sense of like being thrust into a situation. Always having that bit where like the hero kind of fails in a sense at this, like kind of learning, fails, and then like later on kind of redeems himself and then goes through the whole like hero's journey, I guess.
Well, yeah, I definitely feel like, and the thing is like, Black Panther isn't or hasn't got a particular story setup that is unique per se. But the way that they execute everything, was fantastic. I really loved, the scenery, the actors in it, are great. The villain is good. I really like, Michael B. Jordan, as Eric Killmonger. Especially after Fantastic Four, or what is it, Fan-Four-tastic, or whatever.
Gotta love those alliteration things, or whatever.
Yeah, oh man. But like, I haven't watched Fantastic Four, but like after hearing everybody,
it's not that bad.
It's not that bad, really.
Okay. I'll give it some. Okay, I'll give it some credit because I know there's studio interference. However, the first 40 minutes of that film, which is all character building and establishing who these characters are and their relationships, is freaking perfect. It's when they literally get their powers is when everything kind of starts to fall apart, and they're just like, oh no, this happened, and then like, it's an hour-and-a-half film, and they try to condense like this complex story. Like, they shove it. And that's why there was studio interference, and that's why the guy who directed it is nowhere to be seen anymore. Do you know he was supposed to direct like episode 8, I think, in Star Wars?
Well, maybe he would have been a better person to direct episode 8.
Honestly,
just
maybe.
saying.
On
Just
that,
saying.
yeah, I know, just saying. Actually, on that note, you know what I was really happy that Black Panther didn't have, that I thought it would always have? A lot of jokes in every scene. Like, the jokes were kind of, I think the jokes were, like, relegated to at least 2 characters, which is, like, fine by me. But, like, for other things, if it's, like, every single character has a quippy line in every single scene, that's when I kind of get a little bit annoyed. So that's why I'm like, this one kind of toned it down a bit, and it was more serious, and that's what I kind of liked about it. It did have a very good tone to it.
I think the only joke that I felt fell flat was the joke at the very beginning about
Don't you freeze?
Yeah, freeze. I kind of didn't. I was like, it's not that funny. But like, whereas like the line with the sneakers, I really like that. Oh, and the what are those? Like, I kind of cringed with that line. It's like, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, man, you're using a meme from like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. But I do like Shuri, played by Letitia Wright.
Is she the sister? Because everyone likes her, correct. But I think she's like okay. Because once again, I feel like we've seen this character before. She's Felicity in the Arrow. She's what is it? Batman's one, Oracle. You know, it's like Oracle. the nerdy sidekick kind of character, but like is smart and stuff. Like I've seen it millions of times.
Well, the thing is, I like her character because at least like okay. So here's the thing: like a lot of the ways that you should do a joke. In a movie,
isn't it like a pace lead type of thing? Like you build for the setup.
Or okay, okay, not for a purely a screenplay perspective or something, but I mean just for like for the audience is like you're supposed to learn something about the characters. Like when they make a joke, it's like okay, cool, like that shows like. If they're like making macabre jokes, it kind of reflects like, oh, well, that's their outlook on life, and that's like, the environment they put themselves around, and that's why they're like this. At least with like, some of the jokes with, Shuri's character in Black Panther, I kind of get like, oh, she's like this kind of awkward nerd, and you can kind of see it like in how she kind of projects herself. She doesn't really care about traditional like Wakandan stuff. She's more like, oh, I want to put myself in tech, and I'm kind of weird and awkward and eccentric. And you get that from her character as opposed to, maybe some of the other Marvel movies that just kind of shoehorn jokes with everyone making the jokes, and look, there's nothing wrong with making a joke, but if you don't really learn anything from, the character making it, like for example, what is it? Captain America in, I think it was either Avengers or Avengers 2.
In Avengers 2 where it said, I think it was
I get that reference.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's a really funny line because for him, like, we understand, like, oh, he's been frozen for so long that he doesn't understand, like, modern cultural references, and that's why it's funny. It's a meta joke, but it makes sense with his character that he would say that particular line because he's trying to fit in, and you see, like, oh, it's like Steve Trevor being awkward and stuff. And it's like the same thing with Shuri's character. But like, some of the other stuff, it's like, it's like, it's hit or miss. Like, you kind of get
what do you feel about Andy Serkis being Claw? Because like, he was pretty much doing like one-liner jokes all the time. Where we were at the casino, and he said, "I made it rain." He was singing, "What is love?"
Yeah, I think the way that Andy Serkis like delivered his lines and the way that his character is, like, he sold that character as being like this guy who just doesn't kind of take the world seriously. He kind of plays by the ear. It's like, like a semi-Joker-esque character, right? Like
they did have an interrogation scene, so I'm like, oh my god, they're doing a Dark Knight thing.
Well, they did a robbery, they did a lot of
they should once again, if they open with that robbery at the start of the film, I'm like, dude, this is Dark Knight.
Yeah. Well,
but it's okay. It's not as good as Dark Knight, but I'm just saying.
No.
I feel like the setups and scenes felt like it in a sense.
So I actually really liked Andy Serkis. I'm a little bit disappointed that he kind of gets killed semi-early to kind of be replaced by Michael B. Jordan. Even though I do like Michael B. Jordan, there's nothing wrong with his character in this movie. It's just that because Ulysses Claw is supposed to be a pretty prominent bad guy for Black Panther, it kind of seemed like, yeah, he got set up in Avengers 2, where he got his arm chopped off, if you're aware that, that's the reason why he's got like this cool like plasma hand kind of thing. But it kind of almost felt like he needed to have his own movie. Like we needed to have that movie where he stole all that vibranium from Wakanda. And I think that's like one thing that, after going back and thinking about Black Panther a little bit, it's like, yeah, we kind of needed like a little bit more about like the background for some of the tribes.
Well, that's the thing.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, the backgrounds, from what I know, because I don't really know much about Black Panther, and I was talking to some other people who do, and they're just like that main guy in the end, and the person who challenged, Black Panther at the start. His name is Man-Ape, and he's a pretty big deal. I'm like, I had no freaking clue, but there's once again, I feel like that, to me, I feel like, I guess one of the negatives of this film to me is I feel like it's I feel like the structure maybe isn't as tight as it should, it could have been. I feel like there's a lot of kind of meandering things that are going on, and then kind of got semi-resolved. Once we're talking about Andy Serkis, Ulysses Claw, and things like that, and then Killmonger just all of a sudden just killing him just to go to land. I felt like that's a weird bait and switch. All the way to things of Black Panther. I think with his girlfriend, they had a scene at the start, and then they had the scene at the end. I feel like there's a lot of random stuff from why is that even kind of there, sort of I feel like there's a lot of random stuff in the film,
That's kind of put in, yeah. I was gonna say, I like Lupita Nyong'o, but her role in this movie is kind of supposed to be a supporting role for T'Challa, throughout the film. But we don't really get to know much about her outside of the fact that she's not satisfied with the role that Wakanda has in the world. And we don't know anything else about her other than she's Black Panther's ex-girlfriend, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, again, there are roles like that in TV, cinema, whatever. But it's I kind of wanted something a little bit different from this movie. Maybe he doesn't get the girl in the end, but they kind of understand. Okay, maybe we need to get the world back in order before we deal with anything between us. But instead, it's more of a generic, yeah, cool, he gets the girl in the end, blah blah blah. Right?
That's one of the reasons why I really liked Pacific Rim. It's I think it's they didn't have a relationship. They just kind of hey, we're friends, but we did stuff and
yeah, cool. We have this moment together that's our bond, right? I agree. That's the part that I really do like in Pacific Rim, because I thought here we go, they're gonna show in them getting together or something. But yeah, to go back to Ulysses Claw, I really like Andy Serkis in this movie.
I just like him in general. I feel like he needs more work aside from mocap. He is a good actor. It's just minus, you just got to get rid of the mocap, and there we go.
Well, the thing is, with what you were saying about Great Ape,
Great Ape? It's Man-Ape, I think.
Man-Ape, yeah.
But I don't think he's ever referenced that, but I think in the comics that's his character.
Well, I think traditionally in Black Panther, and maybe any of the listeners, you can correct us, on YouTube or sending us an email. You can tell, I know that Man-Ape is a really antagonistic character, and they go through a little bit about that, the apes that live in the mountains, they don't like the way the tribes do their things, but does that mean, do they get technology? Do the tribes help them? How do they survive up in the mountains for so long, despite not being a part of Wakanda per se? It's quite confusing exactly what their relationship is. And I think it would have made sense that, okay, the big story is this is probably how I would have done Black Panther. Marvel, you can contact me later for a prequel film. And it would be it's Ulysses Claw, breaking in, stealing the vibranium, and then having T'Challa having to deal with, a usurper trying to take over the throne. It could be, his dad died as well, and that's the basis for why the film is the way it is, right?
Because they established that he I think he said he escaped and everything, and that's why he knows about it. But it's I'd like to see that in a flashback, even if it was the start of the film for 15 minutes or something like that.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, like, they do introduce a lot of the other tribes. There's like, what is it, 5 tribes total. But we don't know much about them, and I'm like, oh, I want to know more about, like, this snake tribe, or this, whole, like, rhinoceros tribe that exists and stuff. There's a lot of really interesting world-building stuff, which I think probably would make sense in a sequel film. Like, this sounds like definitely, okay, the sequel happens, and then this is, like, the major character from the previous film gets, put 6 feet deep by the new mega villain. That definitely seems like a good way to kind of introduce, like, the new big bad in it. And to go about Michael B. Jordan, I think, again, like, maybe Marvel's finally doing it. They're finally getting good villains for their movies. Because I think I really liked, what was it? I like Michael B. Jordan in this film. I forget, there was like another really good villain, or like a realistic villain.
What, Vulture and Spider-Man?
Yeah, Vulture. Yeah, Vulture. That would have been. Was that the last Marvel movie that came out? Or
yeah,
was that
that was Thor, but it was before that was Spider-Man. Because Michael Keaton is freaking awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Like, again, it's like the motivations for the villains are the ones that always get like again, like, I don't,
because that's the thing. Like Vulture was just a normal guy just trying to provide for his family. I'm like, I'm just gonna make things. He doesn't hate Spider-Man. He doesn't want to control the world. He's like, nah, I just want to make money, and like, you're in my way. That's it.
And even with like Eric Killmonger, he's like, his dad was basically killed by the previous Black Panther, T'Challa's dad. And, he's, growing up in America, he kind of developed, like, a deep-seated hatred for, the Wakandan people and wanted to get his revenge. So how did he do it? He became a soldier. He killed people in order to be a better person, to be a, elite soldier, to eventually go back and overthrow. And, the basis of the film is, Michael B. Jordan, his character wants to release, vibranium weapons, release them around the world and have Wakanda kind of do like a soft coup, like, around the world and,
see, that's to me where it kind of falls apart. Like,
you reckon?
I like the character, like, but I would really like it if this restricted to, like, he just wants to go back, takes revenge on, what's the place again? What's it called? Wakanda. Like, take revenge of Wakanda, be the king, and then turn into a shithole and kill the people, instead of just being like, and now we're gonna control the world with our weapons. Like, I thought it would, I thought, like, his revenge would have just been like, yeah, my revenge is Wakanda, let's fuck up Wakanda by being the king. Like, I think it would have been like this weird kind of like Shakespearean thing where it's like, T'Challa has to come back and be like, I'm the rightful king, or like, need to do this. Instead of like, because that's the thing, it was part of it, but I wanted it to be like the main story instead of going that step ahead of like, now we control the world. Like, I'm like, come on, again, just make it more personal, I guess.
Yeah, I think definitely, I can see where you're coming from, but I think like what they basically tried to do with his character is like he basically, kind of adopted the kind of soul of his father, and he wanted to, bring Wakanda out of being like this reclusive country. And it's quite interesting because there's a contrast between, what Nakia's character wants, which is for Wakanda to like break out from its traditional, reserved, I guess some would argue like conservative mindset, and like help the free world with the technology that they have. But then you also have like Killmonger's perspective, which is, we should break out from these, reserved ideas and make ourselves known. We could take over the world, right? Like, it's definitely like these two options, and T'Challa has to kind of, come to grips like, do I break tradition? Do I kind of be more forward thinking about things? Like, it really does put into perspective about, kind of certain decisions and how they can shape the world if you do one certain thing, or if a certain person comes to power. And the other thing I really liked is the fact that, given, Killmonger's background, like, he's basically like designed to like infiltrate nations and, disrupt them and take him, cut the head off from the, top of the snake, like, I think it's a really cool way, that you can, obviously, like, yeah, Killmonger is not a good person, but you can sympathize with the environment that made him, and I think, again, that's what makes a good villain.
It's actually really funny that every time, like, he appears on screen, you hear this, like, really crappy hip-hop music. It's pretty funny.
I actually really like that beat.
So,
I think that,
it's funny that it's like, oh yeah, traditional African, and then all of a sudden this Americanized, like, bastardized African version comes in. It's like, hey, what's up, guys? I own you now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's kind of what it's supposed to be. Like, he is half Wakandan, half American, so, he's kind of grew up in, like, that African-American ghetto culture, and so that's like supposed to be the contrast. You know what? I actually really like that beat, but if you actually listen to the song, and you guys can, search it up on YouTube, it's got like, I don't know if you know, like, about, like, people playing, like, theme songs and stuff with recorders, and how, like, they purposely make it sound really bad.
Yeah, like they de-hi-fi it or something.
Yeah. And so at the beginning, it's got like these recorder sounds, and I'm just like, ooh, okay, no, it does not sound as cool anymore. But yeah. What other characters are in this film?
Once again, there's a lot of characters in it. Like freaking Forrest Whitaker. I'm like, oh, you just you had as much as lines as you did in Rogue One, and you disappeared, sort of.
Well, I mean, yeah, he does. Again, this is a spoiler
Save the dream
podcast, guys. Spoiler podcast. Yeah. Forrest Whitaker's character does die. In the film. Oh wait, no, does he die?
Oh yeah. He dies when they were battling in the fountain thingy.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, exactly. And I do like his connection. Like, I like the beginning of the film where it's like he's playing like a bit of a patsy. Well, no, at the beginning he's with what is it, Michael B. Jordan's dad, and he kind of pretends to be dumb, and there's like, psych, I'm actually like a Wakandan spy, motherfucker. It's a cool little like bit in it. But outside of that role there, like, he doesn't really do much other than, I don't know, like, smash flowers to give Black Panther powers.
Once again, save the dream. I'm like, well, what dream? Rogue One. In Rogue One, where it's like, save the dream. You're like, dude, where was this dream? Why were you in the posters and disappeared? But that's Star Wars.
Well, I mean, you know what? I don't know if you've seen like the promotions for Rogue One and how he looked in that movie, and then how he actually looked in the real movie are very different. I don't know if you've actually seen side by side.
I think they changed, because once again there was a lot of reshoots, and I think they changed a lot in that film.
Well, I mean, he goes from being like a kind of guy in his 40s to like a guy who looks like in his like 60s, 70s. Like, he's got like gray hair and stuff like that. So it's like, oh yeah, they definitely like changed where they were going with that character. We also got Martin Freeman as the CIA agent. He's kind of like a little bit of the butt of the joke, but I like his character in the film. Definitely is a good way to kind of. Was he in any of the previous movies?
Yeah, once again, he was. I think he was in Civil War, wasn't he?
Oh,
he was like
okay,
the agent. Yeah, and that's why Black Panther and him knew each other.
Yeah, because that's the reason why I didn't recognize him. I was like, because like T'Challa clearly has this relationship with him. I'm like, oh, are we supposed to know who this guy is? It's like, oh, okay.
Which by the way, leads us to like the best scene in the film, which is the Shanghai Korean casino thing. Like, I feel like the fight there was really good. Like it flowed really well, and it choreographed really well. It kind of hyped me up a bit because the director Ryan Coogler, he did Creed. I love the Rocky franchise, and and Creed is an amazing film with amazing like boxing and things like that. So like, I feel like that scene was like the best piece of action in the film, and I was kind of let down with like the end action scene and the chase, because I'm like, nothing was as good as that scene. Like, I feel like that scene was very like it was choreographed really well, and the rest are just kind of like, yeah, it's just same old.
Yeah, I was gonna say with the scene in South Korea, basically they're going to try and
you gotta hit that Asian market down, don't you?
Well, yeah, well, I mean, it didn't work out for Rogue One.
Episode 8,
Last Jedi. Yeah, but they got to do it. They got to try and get maximize it, right? But yeah, with I actually do really like the South Korean scenes, just because, like, again, it's like they're going. One of the things that's really good about this movie is, like, I think a lot of people feel like it for what is it? What's the space one? Everyone's in space.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy is one I don't like, but like, yeah, like a lot of people like Guardians of the Galaxy because it's a little bit of a breath of fresh air for the Marvel franchise. It's not all just like in America doing this and everybody fights heroes and stuff. It's like, oh, cool, we're in space and we're fighting aliens and stuff. It's something new, and I think it's the same thing with this movie. It's like, cool, it's set in Africa. It's got a really cool like setting that it's set in. It's got a bunch of like, and even just in going to South Korea, just to have like a few scenes, like, it just changes up like what they're doing. It also gives it a lot of like international flavor as well.
Well, that's the thing. It kind of felt like a kind of like they could easily do it like a James Bond type of thing, like a spy thing. Like they could have done They could have done a thing where it's like, oh yeah, we're jetting place to place to place to follow like Claw or something because he went off somewhere else. They could have done a big range of type of things. But actually talking about action scenes, I think one of the negatives that I actually have with the film is the CGI. Specifically, it's like, once again, the fake city and everything, that's fine. But specifically, when it came down to like the last fight between the two like Panthers and their suits, I don't know what it is with those suits, but it just like it doesn't look good. Like it kind of looks like the 2008 version of Green Lantern where it's all CGI. Like I feel like, I don't know, every time I see Black Panther move in that suit, I feel like it's like I know it's not real. Like I don't know what it is.
I actually do know what it is. Well, I won't definitively say until I mention it, but I'm pretty sure I know what it is. And it's the fact that the new suits have this, the energy, absorbing ability, right? And because they have that ability, it gives this purple tinge to the Black Panther suit. Now, the reason why they've done this is, sure, like, we're giving Black Panther like an upgrade, it kind of reminds me of, Black Widow, right? They gave her an upgrade in Age of Ultron. They gave her like a cool suit. It's got like electricity running through it, and then they never brought it back for Civil War. I was very confused about why that wasn't a thing. Like, I really liked that suit.
That's the problem with comic continuity, because it's just like, once you get a big upgrade, it's like, how are you going to get rid of it? It's like the game thing. It's like Metroid. It's like, I guess we're going to get rid of all your weapons now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, true. It is like a bit of like a power creep thing. But yeah, with that, it's like, because it kind of gave it like a cartoony vibe, because every time he gets hit, there's just like this purple light, but it doesn't feel organic, because again, it's like a CGI rendition of just lights flashing on his suit, right? It doesn't seem that good. And because they have to distinguish between two different characters wearing the suits, they had Killmonger in the golden suit, and T'Challa was in the purple one. And so, otherwise there'd be two Black Panthers fighting each other. And maybe, like, because they end up fighting underground, it doesn't come off.
Because once again, like, down there in that underground area, it's like, well, that's all technically CGI. And I think what it's really hard, and like it is, when you CGI artificial light on artificial things, because it's a very hard process if you have artificial light to do that stuff. So I feel like that was kind of like the weak point. I'm like, I don't know, it looks a little bit off. Like people complain it was Justice League and about the Superman mustache, which I thought was fine, and like when it's moving.
I didn't even realize.
Once again, when it's moving and it's in motion, you don't notice. But if someone freeze frames it, makes a meme out of it, of course you're gonna find it. But once again, I thought Justice League's CGI was a lot better than this film's, but here nor there. Here nor there. But yeah.
But I think that's actually the reason why. Like, they just looked like you were watching like a bit of like a 90s or like late 2000s like 3D comic fight, and it just looked really like somebody made like a fan fight like on YouTube. It's like, oh, who would win, Killmonger or Black Panther, right? And they all have these colored lights and stuff. And it's like, in my opinion, the reason why it's done is because, again, they're trying to sell toys and they're trying to sell stuff like that, and kids like bright colors and stuff. And what better way to do it than like introduce it that way? And I think that's the main reason why they had introduced the reason why like he has the big purple effect, and like actually like conceptually it makes sense. Like it's a cool upgrade, like being able to absorb kinetic energy and release it. But like in a way, they could have done it without the purple effect, and you could still be able to get it. Maybe like have it like he's got like maybe in his belt, or maybe like in certain parts of his body it like kind of glows purple, like as if it's powering up. But yeah, again, the main reason I'm pretty sure it was done is for that final battle, because it was all underground, dark and whatnot. And that's why it looked bad. Yeah, the choreography is really bad, but like above ground was fine. Like the top part, I think was fine. I don't think the CGI was bad. Like, when we had the big war, happening between the tribes. Again, this is a problem that I have. I feel like the kind of inter-tribe war is something that, again, you set up for a second movie, right? Not
because once again, that's a very interesting concept. Like the planted seeds, because they already had it in the film where it's like, you're not really a good leader. You're more like your dad who does nothing. Like I feel like there was like a lot of things like that, and then like a second film would just be like a lot of people being like in a turmoil. Maybe like when they say like, oh yeah, we're gonna help everyone, they're gonna be like, out of helping everyone, they take away our resources, and it'd be like a really good, like once again, civil war type of thing where it's like a lot of all these tribes are kind of complaining about like certain things. So like that would have been an interesting thing.
Yeah, well, for example, like Wakabi played by Daniel Kaluuya, who was in Get Out.
He's the main dude.
Yeah.
Which like I don't know if they were filmed different times, because like in Get Out, he looks like very skinny, and this one he looks pretty built. Unless that's all CGI as well.
It could be. You never know these days. Yeah. But you also had like him and Okaye, and she's the head of the all-women, security force that Black Panther has, right?
Just matured from Walking Dead. Just makes it easy.
Yeah, and I really like her character. It's like it's a really cool character, and I think you got to learn a lot about her and her personality. Her jokes land because with like her wig joke, because again, she's usually bald. She doesn't like wearing a wig, so she throws her wigs at her enemies as like an attempt to try and dismantle and fight them. It's like really cool when he does stuff. Yeah, so like Danny Kaluuya's character and Okaye, like they're supposed to be like a couple in the film, right? Like they mention it during like a hologram thing that's like, oh, like my king and my love. But then they fight later, right? It's like we just got introduced that they're together, but then like they're more than happy to fight each other later. It's like, yeah, sure. Later on in the film, it's a really hard thing, but it seems like, okay, you set up the first film, show that, yeah, they're like madly in love and they're like got like a really good relationship, and that gets tarnished when there is an outsider who comes in the second movie, kind of thing.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the false like build up to what is it? Civil War. It's like, come on, guys, you guys aren't really like fighting like 100%.
Yeah. No, not really. It's just play fighting. That's basically what it was. But yeah, Chadwick Boseman. I like Chadwick. I read online some people are like, oh yeah, he's a. But I actually liked him in the role. Like, it's very believable as being like, a guy who's kind of straight and narrow, but he can kind of chill out when around certain people. He like relaxes, and he kind of has, the weight of the world on his, the weight of Wakanda rather. He doesn't want to be the king of the world, as he mentioned, but he's got the weight of Wakanda on him, but he can kind of relax and be open when he's around like his sister or like his ex and stuff like that. I think Chadwick does like a really, really good job at kind of being this king, and
he doesn't really know what he needs to do.
Yeah, like someone who's lost, someone who just had his father die, and he's trying to like pick up the pieces of not only his life, but the life for his people. It's like Man of Steel, for example, but everyone hates that film. Well, yeah. I mean, look, some people don't know, like, if anything, The Last Jedi has shown us that you can't trust film reviews. Critic reviews of things, because I think
and critic in quotes, I think.
Yeah, I think that's definitely like the important part about it, because I think like Black Panther got like 90 97 or something like that on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't think it's a 9 out of 10. Like, I definitely put it in like a 7.58. Like, it's definitely
it's enjoyable. It's pretty good, but I wouldn't be like, this is like the new coming of like, this is like, it has a higher rating than something like Dark Knight and Logan. So I'm just like, okay, that's, calm down. You know, you're not revolutionizing the comic book genre with this film.
Yeah, exactly. But like, it is a cool way for them to bring about, you know, a new character, you know, and you know, like, for a long time, like, it was kind of funny because people were saying, oh, it's Marvel's first, black superhero. I kind of had a good laugh at that.
Yeah, like,
because it's
Blade.
like everybody forgot Blade. Yeah, exactly. Everybody forgot Blade. Well, all the critics.
Well,
but, I mean,
that's the thing, because Blade was like in that time where like comic book movies were like the bad things, so like Blade was kind of like, it's kind of based off it, but like, it's based off it, but like we're not going to tell you it is kind of thing. And that
exactly.
That's what reminds me. Once again, bad CGI fights in Blade 2, which is actually a Del Toro film, by the way. So he did that. There was a bit where he's fighting against like artificial lights, and it looked like a video game. And this was done in like 2002, 3. So like, once again,
really?
It reminded me of that. Maybe it's something to do with black actors. I don't know. But yeah,
I think this movie, like, you know, sometimes the kind of cool thing, I guess, like, you know, people often talk about, oh yeah, like we should have like more, you know, diverse characters in, you know, TV shows and like film and stuff. And I totally agree. Like, we should have, you know, as much as like, you know, people want to kind of produce, but at the same time, like, you know, the movie's got to be good. Otherwise you get something like The Last Jedi, right? Like a really crappy film.
They just shoved everything in there. Try to
look. I'm looking at it right now. Like, the tomato meter has it at 91 for the critics, and the audience score is 48. Right. And I think that's like, if this was a film that you just watched and you have nothing, you don't know anything about Star Wars, sure. Like, a 5 is actually not that bad as a score for The Last Jedi. As a fan of Star Wars, it's much lower for me, but yeah, it's a competent film, but it's not a good film, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Black Panther, you know, 97, 78, I think that's like a perfect, like, kind of score for it. Man of Steel, you know, it's got a 27%, you know, critic rating, but it's got a 63% from the audience. And I think, you know what, I'd give it more like a 7, 8.
Yeah, like, once again, I think Man of Steel was done pretty well. I don't know. Some people just don't like maybe the pacing of it, but
yeah,
you know that. But yeah, thinking of actually, if you have any final thoughts with Black Panther, or we can move to the other black superhero.
Yeah, Black Lightning.
Yeah, Black Lightning.
Yeah, you know, another CW TV show. Although
how many do they have? It's like too many at this point, maybe.
What they have: The Flash, they have Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow,
Supergirl,
and that's it.
And Black Lightning. And I swear to God,
Black Lightning.
No,
there are some like spin-offy kind of stuff. Like, they've done like TV shows of certain characters, like not Animal Girl, because it's Animal Man. She's one of the characters on Legends of Tomorrow. I don't actually remember, but like there are some. No, not Hawkgirl. She's actually in the current lineup for the Legends of Tomorrow. She like has the animal powers. Like,
that one. Yeah.
Vixen. So Vixen, her character, her future, like her daughter, like in the future, who you meet, I think in like, it's either in an episode of Arrow or an episode of Flash. There's like an actress who plays her in it. And she had like a mini series, which was like just like all in cartoon, right? But that's not a TV show. And same thing with the Ray, who was in the Nazi episode, like Nazi CW verse. He's got like a mini series on the CW as well. Also, you know what? It kind of reminds me. They never really explained how he got to that universe, did they?
No.
It always kind of.
Once again, it's one of those things where it's like the start premise that just like, and just forget how.
You know what? Actually, I'm going to bring up another thing. Sorry, just to go back on Black Panther. One thing that really bothered me. Okay, with the South Korea film, they go like across like different, you know, roads and cars and everything, running around trying to chase after Claw to get his, like, you know, get him to interrogate him. But they blow up one building in to break him out, and T'Challa's like, nah, they've escaped. Can't chase after him, can't run after him at all. It kind of seems like, wait a second, you just like ran like a marathon trying to capture this dude before, and now like you explode once, and is like, oh, they've gone too far. There's nothing.
Even like, I think it was like, what, Civil War? There was a bit where he was running after the Winter Soldier, I think, and he's just like, and there was Cap following him. And that was a long chase, guys. I think he went a little bit too lazy.
Well, yeah, but it just seems like a disconnect. It's like he just did a marathon, last night. Sure, could be tired, but I'm pretty sure the suit does most of the work, mate. But then it's like, oh no, they got away. What? What? Aren't you from Wakanda? Like,
it's the Jessica Jones thing where it's like, yeah, we're gonna keep him letting you go because we need to find some sort of way to do it.
True.
But anyways, Black Lightning. I feel like this is kind of like a weird kind of companion piece to the Black Panther, if you want, because Black Lightning, you can kind of say it's kind of about like normal African culture over there, but Black Lightning really is about like Black culture in America and how that actually relates. Like, I feel like, the issues of, because that's like Wakanda's fake, and kind of the issues are kind of like more classical type of issues, but I think like Black Lightning is kind of like it's an okay show, but actually it revolves around actually like real life, I guess.
Real issues, yeah.
Real issues,
well,
I guess.
Well, here's the thing. I like to actually compare this show to the Luke Cage Netflix TV series.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot. Yeah, that's probably the best comparison.
I think that's the best comparison for this show, just because both of them kind of dealt with very similar themes. Like, well, with Power Man, aka Luke Cage, he kind of dealt with Harlem, right? That was his kind of slice of New York City that he protects, and he looks after, like, the African American community there. Whereas, with Black Lightning, it's a fictional town from memory. I forget what the town is called, but it's a fictional town. And Jefferson Pierce, aka Black Lightning, played by Chris Williams. I actually don't know him from any other shows, but I do.
Yeah,
I
don't know any of the cast, like, actually where they're from and what they do.
But I actually like him as the role as Black Lightning, and his alter ego Jefferson Pierce. Like, I definitely feel like, oh yeah, like this guy like does really love his community. He like cares about like all this stuff. But yeah, he's like kind of put into a bind because of his alter ego. And it is the classic like, ooh, like Black Lightning is like a vigilante and he's not good and he shouldn't be here. But then like, the community loves him. Like, the police hate him, community love him. Classic kind of thing.
Yeah, it always works. That's the thing. I feel like in Luke Cage, I feel like the Black community in it was like more like dressing like to the story. Like, I feel like it was not real. Like, if it didn't feel like real, it felt more artificial. But I feel like in Black Lightning, I feel like the hood, town type of thing and the community of it. Like, I feel like it's more realistic in Black Lightning than it is in Luke Cage, which felt just like, oh, it's kind of set in here. Like, it feels more genuine, I guess.
Well, I think it's also because, like, you can, like, everybody in the Pierce family, and the place is called Freeland, they kind of are involved in the community in some capacity. Like, you have Jefferson Pierce, he's a successful principal. You have his ex-wife, who's like, a doctor who cares about like, the people in the community. You have his daughters, like one of them's like an activist slash teaching aide at the school as well. So like, again, it's giving back to the Black community. And you also have like the youngest daughter, like, yeah, she's like slowly kind of becoming an activist kind of thing. But yeah, like, again, it's far more genuine, as you've mentioned, because they kind of expand a little bit about that community. Like, and also I guess like, a lot of the events happen and it happens to the community. Whereas I guess in Luke Cage, some things happen and they affect Luke Cage, who happens to also be in Harlem. And therefore they get affected, right? He's the problem, as it seems to be in Luke Cage. Sure, like, there's like the episodes or so where he like goes around, like kicking or like bashing, robbers and stuff. But in the end, like, they're not the main focus, or at least it doesn't feel like they're the main focus to me, from a story direction, because it's more like, oh, who experimented on him, and then, who is, Cottonmouth. Actually, the Cottonmouth stuff is really cool in, Luke Cage, but, like, they kill him off, and they put, like, Mr. Generic military guy who hates the main character aspect. It's like, again,
Yeah, it
it's
was
like,
pretty bad in that way.
yeah, and also the thing that I kind of like about Black Lightning is, like, they've got a few mysteries going. It's like, what's going on with Black Lightning's, partner,
Yeah,
James,
yeah.
James,
Are we talking about the old guy?
yeah. Peter Gamby. Yeah, it's like, what's going on with him? Why is he helping? But, like, he's also hiding the fact that his old nemesis Tobias Whale is back in town.
Which by the way, it's like, I feel like it's a very weird allegory where it's kind of like the main villain of this show is like the actual whitest person possible, like an actual albino. They're just like, no, like, we're not doing white person, we're doing albino white.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's kind of what makes his character quite interesting. And the guy who plays Tobias Whale, Marvin Jones III, like, I believe he's a rapper from my understanding, but
is he?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, actually. I'll look it up. Just to fact check it. No fake news here. And his character kind of works because his persona is like, he was hated by, like, his dad and, like, the black community because he was like albino. He wasn't black, but then he wasn't accepted by, like, the white community because he's not white either. So it kind of makes sense that, like, he has this kind of deep-seated hatred. Like, he refers to, like, black, African Americans as Negroes. Like, and it's definitely something that's, like, associated, like, and it's got, like, this, like, tone of, like, he thinks he's better than them.
He's
and
more superior.
Of, like, and it's because of, like, again, it's like, the way you learn about characters is how they talk and, like, the jokes they make and stuff like that. And I think it sells it as being, this is a guy who really dislikes Black Lightning. They've got a history, but what is that history? Like, I think from my memory, it's like, Tobias Whale, eventually killed, Black Lightning's dad. And that's the reason why they have beef, from my understanding from the show.
Yeah. But that's the thing. If we're talking about the show, I feel like the show is, like, okay, like, and it good at some points, like, I feel like, it's just a solid, good show, part of the CW. It's not really part of it, but, like,
yeah, that's a weird thing. It isn't, is it?
Yeah, but, like,
and I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah, but I'm okay with just a singular story, because that's the thing. I think this season of, like, Black Lightning, I don't know if it's, like, to see if it's proven, but, like, it's only, like, 13 episodes. It's not, like, a 23, 24 episode like the rest of them. Maybe in the future they might do it, but, at the current moment it's its own story, and I don't mind it. I think it's an okay show, and people should maybe watch it if they got some free time on their hands.
Yeah. And also, by the way, so Marvin Jones III is an American rapper. He goes by the name of Crodon.
Crodon?
Crodon. So Crodon, I say Crodon, like, it probably goes Crodon. So it's Krondon. So, free promotion, not that you really need it. Yeah, so yeah, he's got, he's been around since 2007. So yeah, it's always cool to see them kind of, introducing that kind of stuff. But yeah, there's a few other mysteries, and yeah, I do recommend this show. I think, again, Legends of Tomorrow kind of is dropping the ball for me a little bit. It's like, yeah, cool. They, like, kind of don't care about, like, messing up the timeline. It's like, who cares? Everything doesn't matter.
Before it used to matter, but now it's kind of like, who cares?
Yeah, so, like, this show is, like, again, it's like, it's got a big ground. Although, I did, like, I don't know if you watched any of the, Legends of Tomorrow episodes, but the premiere one had,
Constantine.
Which I love.
I wish that show did well, because he's, like, one of my favorite characters, so.
Well, I wish the show was good. That was my problem. I actually did. I don't know if I mentioned it before. I didn't like the Constantine TV series just because it had too much, like, magic should make, like, again, magic isn't like a science, but the way that you should introduce magic is it should have rules. But I think like the reason why they probably don't make like a more magic themed, like grounded Constantine is because the CW already has their magic TV show with Supernatural, and I think that's the main reason why we're not getting something like a Constantine on CW.
Well, that's the thing. The Constantine comics, which are Hellblazer, is basically everything that was written in those comics has been used in Supernatural before. Like, Supernatural leans very heavily from Constantine's, like, work and Hellblazer's work. So that's why I feel like, you know, that everyone's like, Constantine's like, you know, like Supernatural. It's like, you know, the original influenced the other.
Yeah,
but like,
yeah, sure. It's a classic one.
It didn't have it doesn't have its own kind of identity in a sense.
Yeah, because it's already been taken by a different show, right? But yeah, maybe the future. You know, I'd like it if they did have something like, oh, we'll just put him on, you know, the like Legend of the Tomorrow Crew. That's what I said they should do with Wally West, because they like introduced Wally West in the Flash, and then he just didn't do anything.
Yeah, it was like it's like I'm nearly faster than Barry now, and now I'm gonna disappear, and I have a girlfriend, but I'm gonna disappear again. Bye. Yeah,
it's like they have to come up with excuses for not having him on anymore because they kind of realize I don't think he's very popular. I like the actor and I like, you know, Wally as a character. But it's like they can't have two Flashes on the show because then they have to either make them both incompetent, or one of them incompetent, and it just makes the other look bad. You know, it's like, oh, Wally can't do this on his own. Oh, well, I guess we need the real Flash. Right? It doesn't make him look good. You know?
Well, yeah, like, that's the thing. It's like, talking about getting replaced characters, the, what's that guy from Arrow again? The other guy who used to Arrow?
Red Arrow?
Yeah, he's disappeared, but now he's actually coming back apparently for an episode or two, I think.
Really?
Yeah. So it's gonna be like 2 Speedies or 2, like, Red Arrows. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Well, I mean, I guess he can go by the name of Arsenal, which is another name that that particular character goes by later in the comics. When he loses his arm, he gets like a robotic arm replaced.
Man, what's with everyone getting robotic arms? It's like the new trend.
Hey, it's the future, man. Everybody gets robotic arm.
And you get a robotic arm, yeah.
Dude, I'd get a robotic arm.
Hell yeah, I would. I'd punch people all the time.
Okay, well, yeah, sure, mate.
Yeah, whatever you want to do. But actually, going to the previous point about, you know, magic should be a science and should be explained in a particular way. Movie that does not do that well is the Cloverfield Paradox. This is a Netflix-only movie, and I feel like Paramount Pictures knew it was a piece of shit film, so they like, hey, Netflix, how much money do you want to pay for it? And they're probably just like, yeah, we'll pay this much. And that's probably why it's a Netflix-only film. So this film is a prequel, actually, to, like, a semi-prequel to the first part, like, Cloverfield. And it's about a bunch of scientists that go up into space to solve kind of because they have a crisis about, like, you know, they're losing food and energy and water and things like that. So they have to kind of do, like, these science experiments and, you know, hope that they, you know, solve it before, you know, everything goes to chaos. And then when they finish this one science experiment, they realize that they're in an alternate universe, an alternate reality, and hence why it's a paradox, because, you know, there's 2 different things. So this film is, like, it could be good, but they failed miserably at it. Like, I feel like, once again, the cast is really good. They got a really good ensemble cast here. Like, they've got Chris O'Dowd, which generally is only in comedy roles. And what's his name? Daniel Bruhl, who's the bad guy in Civil War, as well as the Inglourious Bastards. Yeah. So he's there as well. So I think the main reason why people hate this film is because the way that people die in this film is just a very lazy way to do it. Like, because once again, paradox, alternate universe. So, like, obviously there's 2 versions of the crew, there's 2 versions of the ship, and they kind of occupy the same space. So the problem with this is that it's never done in a particular way. Like, for example, there's a bit in the movie where someone dies because in the paradox universe, the ship, like, that room in the ship is blown up and there's no air there, so they just die. But instead of just being like walking around and then like that's a hazard, it always has to happen when the person's in the room. Like, it just like it could be aliens magically appeared or just like random things like that. Just like, people just die for the sake of dying in a creative way, and it's a stupid way to do it. But
just so I understand, because the thing is, I was kind of interested in watching this movie because again, I like the first Cloverfield. You know, like
I really love 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, like some people don't like the whole shaky cam thing. I think like the only movie that did it before that movie that was like semi-famous was that horror film, the one
Blair Witch Project.
Blair Witch, yeah, Blair Witch. There were like some other ones kind of done like not shaky cam, but like kind of security cam kind of stuff. But like like Cloverfield, like it kind of seemed genuine, and it was also at a time when like people were using like social media and video phones, like video on phones. Jesus. Like video on phones like more often and stuff. So it was kind of believable. It's like, oh yeah, guys, like library. And yeah, as you mentioned, like 10 Cloverfield. At the same time, 10 Cloverfield Lane, like kind of felt really Cloverfieldy more towards the end. Like it seemed like a very like you wouldn't have necessarily needed to put the Cloverfield name and the movie would still be good kind of thing.
Well, like I said before, that movie was not supposed to be a Cloverfield film. They just said, why don't we just tack on the name because it would probably make more money, and it did.
Yeah, sure.
So at that end bit was the Cloverfield part, but like the rest of it being like John Goodman in like a bunker being like, is he a crazy guy who's in love with me, or is there actually bad things out there? And like there's that tension. Exactly. That was the whole film, but then just like Cloverfield, that bitch, and they did that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I guess what is Cloverfield? That's what do they explain what that is in?
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. They don't like. That's why I feel like this series is very weird. Like the Cloverfield, like when you say series, like like if you're gonna say something, like, what's the Alien franchise? It's like, okay, it has to have xenomorphs and like androids, has to have some sort of have horror to it and things like that. But when you talk about Cloverfield, you're like the alien, and that's really it. But like that's I don't know. It's a weird series. Like. Once again, I feel like it's the same thing. What happened to 10 Cloverfield Lane? Like, this does not need to be a Cloverfield film. It's just like, it could have just been like, oh, the world's energy's going away. So, there's scientists and they need to do it. And then the scientists kind of screwed up. So that's the thing. The identity of Cloverfield itself is, no one knows, I guess.
I was going to say, maybe it's kind of more like, Twilight Zone. Right? Like, Twilight Zone has, like, a variety of different, like, odd things that make you kind of flip, your perception on your head kind of thing. So it's like, this one deals with, like, alternate realities, and this one is, like, aliens, and this one is, like, giant monsters. Like, it's just, like, this kind of, pop culture things put in, like, a certain, like, bite. But, like, maybe they don't necessarily connect up to anything, which is a bit of a shame, because I thought, like, that's what this movie might have established. Like, I heard, like, like, multiple universes and stuff like that. Just to kind of clarify one thing, you were talking about, the, characters dying off in rooms or something like that.
Yes. So the space station, yeah.
Yeah, so there's two universes. Their universe and the Paradox universe.
Well, basically they pulled kind of like a lever type of thing. They did this thing, and when they did it, they realized that that ship is in one universe and the other ship's in the other universe. But like for brief moments, they appear at the same universe. So, but
they like switch back and forth.
Like that's the thing. They're kind of stuck in one universe, but for some reason, like certain things stay the way they are. So, like, that's it's probably some sort of science theory of, like, two of the same object cannot be in the same space.
You occupy the same space. Yeah, sure.
So there's a lot of things like that. And I understand, like, if they establish, like, oh, yeah, this part of the ship's broken because in the parallel universe it's broken, so let's try to fix that. Instead of doing it, when they try to do something, then all of a sudden, magically, it turns to the alternate universe. That's why I feel like it is a little bit lazy of, like, anything and everything can kill you. If you just write it in a sense like, oh, and now it's the alternate universe is switching by, instead of having a problem being like, it's already the problem there, and let's try to fix it, in a sense.
Yeah, sure, right. So it just kind of seemed, okay.
It's just people just die for the stupidest reasons. You're like, oh, of course that had to happen. Like, it's like going to, like when you play a video game where it's like, okay, I have like no ammo left or something like that, and it's like, okay, something bad's gonna happen,
Yeah, and you're just not prepared for it. Yeah, nah, I kind of get it. Well, it's a bit of a shame because, I was kind of looking forward to this film, but like, on top of the negative your review kind of cements, like, yeah, maybe I can just give it a pass.
Yeah, it was just an okay-ish film, like a kind of bad-ish film. Like, it just doesn't do anything. It just exists, basically.
That's unfortunate.
A film that like I feel like is better than this film, but is kind of semi-bad, is actually the Full Metal Alchemist live-action film that everyone kind of hyped up about because I don't know if you know this, but people really like Full Metal Alchemist, and I really do love it too.
Oh, really? Yeah, one of the most popular animes of all time. Some people like it.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure it's like, I'm pretty sure it's like number 1 or like number 2, or it's like in the top 5 of like my anime list.
Like the original or Brotherhood?
The Brotherhood.
Mm.
Yeah.
Have you watched the original?
I watched both. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan. I think it's like 7, but 7, 6.5, 7, both series. I actually really like the original series because again, I didn't grow up with.
I do prefer the original.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily better per se. Like it's like sure, it's like it begins the same, right? They kind of gloss over the first arc in Brotherhood because they're like, well, we've already done it. If you want to watch it, you just watch the original animated series, watch that arc, and you kind of get like the full breadth of what happened in it. But I kind of liked how like they kind of thought ahead, and they're like, oh well, we don't know what's going to happen. This character dies. Well, let's just make her live in this one, and she can become some character later or something like that. And they kind of deal with a lot of cool concepts. Like, it's been a very long time I've seen the original Full Metal Alchemist, but I think I remember it being like having to deal with like different universes or something, like different realities or something like that is like a concept that they deal with in the movie. Which is really interesting. I thought it like kind of ties everything together really well. Whereas with Brotherhood, I kind of felt like, okay, cool. Like they've got like his dad's like this cool like alchemist guy, but he ends up kind of seeming like a bit of like a generic bad guy in the end. Like again, maybe when the manga came out, it's like this cool revolutionary thing that set the tone, and I'm suffering a little bit of Seinfeld effect. But again, it didn't feel like I didn't like how they didn't expand more on the the Asian or the Eastern alchemy stuff.
Oh yeah.
It just felt like a concept like, oh hey, look, here's this like new alchemy concept from the East that like we have no idea about, and it like shits all over Western alchemy, but we won't go over it for a bit. We just introduce these like new characters that contribute like for a little bit, and somebody goes into the mind of one of them again. Like, yeah, I just gone on a little bit about like my opinion on Full Metal Alchemist, but like that's
it's an amazing series. I know I hate it so much.
It's look, I like it, but I think it's overhyped. That's all I'm saying. I don't think it's like this. I don't think it's like top 5 and not my top 5 animes. But again, all animes bad. That's every anime fan should know that. All anime bad.
I disapprove of that theory.
What did you think of the action film?
Well, here's the thing. I think the live-action Death Note film is actually better than this.
Really?
Oh yeah. I don't know why people hate the live-action Death Note movie so much. But
wait. Are you talking about the
English version? The
Netflix one?
the Netflix one, the recent one.
Oh well, man.
I prefer it over this one.
Okay, cool. All right, yeah, continue.
Because even though they changed the characters a bit, I still liked it. So the Full Metal Alchemist film is like, I feel like it's okay. Like once it's just generic okay. Like it doesn't really do anything good or bad. It kind of exists. It's a very long movie. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes, and it kind of condenses. I'd say probably like the original series from like 2003, like that series. It condenses that into like 2 hours and 15 minutes, basically. Like a very, and I think the problem is like you don't get much of the relationships between a lot of the characters, especially like Ed and Al. or even Rinri's character. I can never say her name properly without sounding like a complete idiot. But
yeah, no, it is pretty different.
Like Winry. Yeah. But yeah, like
yeah.
So you never really see that, or even like with Ed and Colonel Mustang, you never really see them have like that weird kind of relationship where they hate each other, then they like each other. And that's like kind of the only real like negatives, because it's just very like shallow of a film where the characters go place to place to place. So like, at the start of the series, they try to hunt down the Philosopher's Stone with that random guy in the village. They do that whole thing. Then they try to find the crazy scientist who merged or like transmuted particular animal to a particular girl.
Yeah, feels bad, man.
Yeah, that whole thing. And so they basically kind of go through the main-ish type of plot points of Full Metal.
So do they only do like the first arc? Because that's like the first like half of the original series from memory, like with like the stuff with like the girl and the dog. That's like the end of like the first arc or something, or the first half, and it's like kind of the first section of Brotherhood. So maybe it's like supposed to be not the whole film, the whole series, but maybe it's like supposed to be like a part 1, and then like if popular they'll make a part 2 kind of thing.
Well, maybe, because that's the thing. They kill kind of the characters. Like for example, they do kill Lust, and I don't know. I don't think Glutton gets killed, but the other one does. I forgot. Envy, I think it was. Like so like they get killed and things like that, and the whole thing with See, that's the thing. It's been a long time, but yeah, they find the crazy scientist with the Philosopher's Stone and those weird zombie things. Like I don't remember from the actual anime if they existed.
Yeah, neither do I. I remember.
But that's generally what that was kind of the movie. So it kind of follows that arc, and like it's just done in live action. Like if you want a very insanely condensed version of this show, and this is kind of the movie for you, I guess. Like I don't. Once again, I know who this movie's for. Like I'm a big fan, and it would be really cool if they actually once again made this more into a television series. If they made like a 13 episode, maybe cut out a lot of the filler, and just kind of go from there. Because that's the thing. You don't see Ed really working with I forgot what they're called, but yeah, the Alchemist, whatever the group's called. Like you like a few times, but you never really see him at the academy or whatever. Or like my favorite part of the series is when it's him versus like Colonel Mustang, and they have to do that little showdown. Like that's my favorite thing in the series. So like the movie, if you just can't get enough of Full Metal Alchemist and you want a very short version of it, I think this is the film for you. But like, it doesn't really do anything much about it. What I will give it credit for is actually the special effects, especially for like, I'm assuming a pretty modest budget. It's pretty good special effects, especially the effects that they did for what's the guy's name with the suit, the actual freaking his brother.
Al?
Yeah, Al. Yeah, Al in the suit. Like I thought that was done pretty well. Like it's a mix of practical and CGI, and it's spot on. Like I didn't feel like that was fake, so that was good.
Oh well, that's good to hear. Because I was going to say like came off a bit weird, but it's good to see that they managed to make like the second most important character like seem like a normal thing in the universe.
Yeah. But once again, I feel like every single anime adaptation live action is kind of like an okay version of the anime. Like it's never like the better version. It never will be.
Well, I was gonna say like there's like the South Korean version of Death Note, which I think like that's really good. That's better than like the anime. It's also got like the better ending than the anime.
Jesus.
Not the part 2. Yeah. Have you seen it?
No.
No, it's good. I would recommend it. Like essentially, again, spoilers, guys. They basically like cut out all the stuff with like Mello and the other stuff.
Oh yeah, that okay. The bit that broke the series.
Yeah. And they basically make it so that what L does is he manages to, because when he gets his hand on the Death Note, he writes in the Death Note that he will die in like I think 7 days or something like that. And so when Light, because it disappears, right? Like when you write down like someone's death.
Yeah.
I believe that's what happens. So Light doesn't see that that's what he's written. So when he gets his hand on the book, and finds out Light's name and writes it down, nothing happens because Light's already, that's like the big, like kind of reveal that's like, oh, I already am set to die in a week. and then then the big shootout happens instead of it being mellow and or whatever. Like that's the way it is, and I think it's a far more interesting, a very in character way of solving that problem. And it's live action and it's good. Would recommend it. The sequel of it is not good. Haven't seen it. Basically, it's about the final 7 days of L's life, and he has to solve like a crime in a week thing. But apparently, it's a really bad movie, so don't watch it. Watch the South Korean version.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah. It does. Like I completely agree. Like they're gonna be releasing, I think, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 4, like, and it's like a live action, and it just seems to be like, okay, cool. They're just like getting highlight moments from the anime and just adapting it in real life, and that's kind of what it sounds like. You're telling me that they did with this. They're like, oh, what are some important moments or some cool stuff from the anime? Let's bring it in real life, and that will be cool.
Well, yeah, but that's what I feel like a lot of these adaptations are. Like, because like I think there's one from some random manga that got actually made. I think it's kind of like if you ever heard of Cromartie High School, it's kind of like that.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, and there's a live action version of that, but it's like slightly different, and it's about a bunch of delinquents into the school, and it's a live action version. It's just kind of like just general hijinks. Like I feel like a lot of these anime, even like video game adaptations, are kind of like highlights of such. Like still my favorite adaptation when it comes to Japanese culture, I guess, is actually the Ace Attorney movie from which is the Phoenix Wright one. Yeah, that's probably the best video game movie and probably best anime movie. Like it's like it does the first game like dead on. Like I even feel like it's not even abbreviated. Like this is like this is like the first game. Like legitimately, actually, the characters look dead on. Everything's the same, even to when they crack the case, or like when the person gets found out. You know how like at the end they always do
they sweat and
like
stuff,
they break down and they yell. It's like exactly like that, and it's really funny and really like abstract. Like I think you should watch it.
I might have to. I love the Ace Attorney series. Like I've played like the first 3 games.
Yeah, which are pretty much the ones that are the only real. There's Apollo Justice. Yeah, there's Apollo Justice. There's the dual ones, and there's so many now.
Yeah, but isn't there like another one as well that's coming out? Like maybe it's not out, but maybe it's coming out. It's like I don't know. There's a lot of them, but I like it. Like I think like definitely kind of jumps the shark a little bit with the whole like supernatural elements in it sometimes, but I really like it. It's really cool to see,
trust me, you'll love the movie. It goes like if you know the series, then you're just like, oh my god, they did this, or even like because like it does it in such a weird way where it's for example, when the case is solved, like in the game where there's like confetti and stuff like that, it happens in the movie, and everyone's like, what the hell? And everyone's like, what? They're like, what the hell is this? And like, it does, so like, it's kind of like this weird, like, meta thing. It's like, hey, you know this from the game? It does it like that, so it's really funny. So,
okay. I was gonna say, I actually really like the Prince of Persia movie. I think that's probably my idea of like the best video game movie, just because it's like not like The Sands of Time at all. Like it's like its own self contained story, and I think the difficulty when you transfer anime or video games into like a movie is that it kind of takes away part of what makes it interesting. Like anime is interesting because they can do like a lot of wacky things that otherwise would cost like millions of dollars with like special effects or like with certain angles or something like that, or the way it's stylized. And same thing with video games. Like part of the aspect that makes video games interesting is like having your agency and being able to control the player in a certain situation. And you might be like, hey, that's not how I would do it, or that's not what really happened, kind of thing. But yeah, when you kind of transfer it to the screen, sometimes it doesn't work. But yeah, like it's pretty interesting to hear that Ace Attorney kind of comes out pretty well. So you're telling me it's Ace Attorney, then Death Note, the Netflix version, and then Full Metal Alchemist for you. Yeah.
Once again, there's so many. Like I know there's one called Cutie Honey, and that's like a weird like magical girl show, but like the live action version of it's like, yeah, we're gonna do as weird as it can, like go full out anime on this, but like live action as possible. So it's got like speed lines, it's got like weird like jumps and stuff like that. I'm like, this is as like replicating actual anime, but like it reminds me of like this year we got Robert Rodriguez's version of like the Battle Angel movie. Did you see the trailer for that?
Yeah. I haven't seen it.
Have you? No, didn't you not see the least photos of it though?
No, I haven't actually looked up anything with the Battle Angels. I didn't even know that was. Did you say it's coming out this year?
Yeah.
Oh,
Alita Battle Angel. Okay, look it up on Google right now, and you'll see why people are weirded out about it.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll check it out. Well, the thing is, it's like that movie has been in like a little bit of like a production hell for a very long time.
Yeah, like I think it was like, James Cameron was supposed to make it like 10 years ago and all that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Interesting. It's got like a bit of a
Yeah. Yeah.
She like looks through like what is it like that weird? It's got like an anime-ish look, but it kind of seems like she's too real as well. That's interesting. I mean, it's a style.
It's definitely a style because everyone's like, "What is this?" Like huge eyes, like actual freaking huge eyes.
But is she the only one who looks like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Which is very weird. It's like, yeah, let's make the main character. I guess because she's like what, a robot thing. Like, I don't know the series. Maybe like you can just be like, yeah, sure, do the big eyes or something.
Well, I was gonna say, like, the reason why they give big eyes on characters is to make them look cute, right? Like, it's the same reason why, babies have really big eyes when they're younger, because, like, proportionally to their head, the eyes look very big. And it's the same thing with, like, animals and, like, puppies and stuff like that. Like, they all have big eyes in terms of, like, their ratio to their head. And so they look more cute. They look more, like, endearing. And it's like a bit of, like, an evolutionary development. And subsequently, like, we see it in things like media, in order to make something look cute, you give it, like, a big eye to head ratio kind of thing. And yeah, it's definitely, like, the case with this. Like, but the issue is, like, they have the reason why they did it is because the anime have like big eyes or big eyes-ish, not too big. Like looking at the anime again, it's not that big, but it's like it kind of seems like it's getting into uncanny valley territory, and I think that's probably the reason why people are like, this kind of seems weird. Like,
if it was weird.
Like, I mean, if the other characters in the movie also had big eyes like that, then it feels a lot less weird because it's like an artistic choice to have everybody have these big eyes, and there's like this kind of, I guess, continuity with why they all look like that. But yeah, I don't think it looks too bad, but I guess like, yeah, I can understand why people are like, this is like a beloved, like, show for me. Like, what are they doing?
It's oh yeah, I forgot about one really bad adaptation of an anime. It's called Dragon Ball Evolution.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I think that's down there.
Okay, is it so from a if you were to give it, is it worse than Full Metal Alchemist?
Oh, of course. Like I think it's like maybe the worst. I don't count Avatar: The Last Airbender as an anime, but
neither do I.
But if I did, that would be the worst. But like once again, Dragon Ball Evolution steals the cake. But once again, I feel like if Dragon Ball Evolution was a Japanese-made thing, I think people it'd be kind of like this in a sense. Like it would be kind of like a Full Metal thing where it's like everyone's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of stupid, but whatever. Because like I feel like there might be like some certain redeeming things about that film, but like for example, I think it was Chow Fat's Master Roshi. I'm like, that's good. Why didn't you make the rest of the film cool? Like, do you not remember the rest of the film, or did everyone just wipe it off their memory and just like this never happened?
No, the thing is, I actually really enjoyed watching this film, and the reason why is like this was like back when I was in high school and this film came out, and it was just like me and my mates, like we all like probably like most of the guys from my year level, we took like an entire row in the cinema just to watch this movie. And the entire time, everybody was just laughing at how bad this movie was. So the fact that, like, every time this bad scene was happening or this dumb scene effect happens, it's just like everyone's just cracking up at how stupid it was. So I have, like, positive memories about Dragon Ball Evolution, but not because the movie is good. Like I mentioned how Piccolo looked like the Mask in the film, and like he looks like the Mask. Like, you know, not the mask like once it's put on and it's all wacky, but like the weird mask that he puts on, like it's kind of like a weird Velcro-y thing, and it's like it does Piccolo a disservice, you know? Like he's supposed to be like a really big villain, and then the main actor who does Goku's like bad, and it's like he's in high school kind of thing. It's like it's weird. Like I don't.
Chi-Chi was kind of hot. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it sounds about right, but it's just like, and it's like, even the Kamehameha, oh my god.
They ruined that as well. I'm like, how did you, like, completely ruin this whole thing? Like, all the lore, how do you do that?
How hard is it to just get a ball of energy and it to shoot, like, light out? It's like,
instead of, like pushing forward with it or something, I remember that. I'm like,
there was, it was just ridiculous, dude. I don't know. Look, Speaking of which, have you been watching Dragon Ball Super at all?
I watched the first season so far, so I think it's pretty good. I see the points where everyone's like, it's got sort of semi-bad animation at certain points and all that.
Yeah.
But I did hear it's on a hiatus, I think.
Yeah, I think it's like on the verge of maybe being cancelled. Ooh. But you know what? I actually don't mind it being cancelled, and I'll tell you why. Maybe some people will be like,
but it's Dragon Ball. It's like, you know, one of the most influential things, you know, like anime. I think it's like probably it's reached a lot more people than you think it is. Like it has. Like I watched a video. I don't know if you know Super Eye Patch Wolf. He did like a break.
Nope.
He's like a anime breakdown YouTuber, and he recently made a video about you know, the how iconic and how evolutionary Dragon Ball was and Dragon Ball Z was. And
did you say evolutionary or revolution? Because I think you're still having some of that Dragon Ball evolution. It's a bit of a Freudian slip.
Yeah, but it was like, revolution, because, you know, like it influenced a lot of the shonen anime type of things, and it's kind of, it was talking about like, it's one of those things where Dragon Ball is kind of stood the test in time, and it's sold pretty much like number one just behind, you know, One Piece. So it's pretty much up there.
Well, I guess it is like one of the most influential animes for the West, right? Like that was like my first introduction to animes, and then it was like watching Ghost in the Shell on SBS, which is a broadcasting network in Australia.
I do remember it was on there.
Yeah, it was on SBS. It's a thing. And the thing is, look, at the same time, like Dragon Ball Z. The show, you know, it kind of dragged on for a little bit because, like, you know, they were putting in fillers so, like, you know, the manga could, like, you know, write a little bit more so they can get to the end and stuff.
That's pretty much like nearly every single anime that gets made.
Yeah, exactly. Well, especially back then.
When they're getting made, like, I think the same thing happened to Full Metal, the original one, 2003. I feel like the manga wasn't ready, so they just like whatever.
Well, with that, they just like, well, fuck it, we got to make something. So they did like an original ending with it, and everything just kind of went out the wazoo with it. But like, not that I mind it. Again, I rate both of the shows the same. But like with something like Dragon Ball Z, it's like, it had its time, and it did really good. And like, I think it's the same thing with Super. Like, I kind of don't want Super to become like Bleach or One Piece, that it just has to find an excuse to keep going and forever. It's like, have a cool, interesting story, tell the story, you know, and I'll go for the ride. Like, I like the Battle of the Gods saga. Frieza saga was kind of okay. Currently, like the previous saga that I'm up to, that I was up to, was Universe 6. So it's like a battle between two universes, and the current saga is the Future Trunks saga, where, you know, Future Trunks is back, and what's wrong with the future now? This mysterious character from the future who looks like Goku. Ooh. Apparently it's one of the coolest.
Is that the one where it had that viral video where everyone's like reacting to the Kamehameha, and it hit the person up close, and like Goku skated across one with an energy blast?
Whoa, I don't know about that. Is that an actual thing? I don't know. Well, there's only episodes out for the Future Trunks saga arc.
There's a video of like Goku, like someone's shooting it. It's like a girl. It's like a little short girl who's Super Saiyan shooting these 2 blasts.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then
Sure.
Goku's surfing on the blast with his own blast, and then shooting it right in front of her face. And then you see like there's a compilation of reactions, and there's all these guys be like, "Oh my god, no way!" It's like the funniest thing.
Oh, okay. I think I'm. It's not in this particular arc. I think that happens in. I think it might happen in the next arc, which is like, I don't know, like, battle for the universe. It's like, well, the big thing that's happening is, now all the, I think like 18 or like, 12 universes are gonna have a big tournament, and like the place that loses like gets destroyed. Like the whole universe gets destroyed.
Jesus, man, the high stakes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing that happened with Dragon Ball Z, right? It had like a bit, like, Gurren Lagann kind of does the trope about power creep really well. Like, it starts off, on the planet, and then they fight like a base, and then they fight like a flying base, and then the moon, and then the galaxy. It kind of escalates like that, and that's kind of how it is with Dragon Ball. You start off with like, Goku, he's fighting like, mythical, ancient Chinese, Japanese monsters, and oh, well, now it's aliens.
Yeah,
oh, now it's people from another.
Well, isn't it now they're like Goku and Vegeta are basically gods now? So everyone's like, what are you doing now?
They're not gods per se. It's just they call the power that they have Super Saiyan God. It's like, I don't know. It's this dumb thing. Like, I don't know. And even then, Goku has like another ability which is like above that, which is Ultra Instinct, which I think he has like silverish hair for it. Like, look it up, Goku Ultra Instinct. It's a thing. It's like, I remember back when I was in high school, we always talked about, oh yeah, like, what if there was like another Super Saiyan where his hair changes a different color? And like, now they're actually doing it, and it's definitely not that cool.
Yeah. It definitely isn't. Because I remember it was such a big deal, especially when it was, it was like Super Saiyan like 3, like when he grew the long hair. Everyone's like, holy shit. Sure, you had one like 22 minutes of him yelling to get to Super Saiyan 3, but man, that was awesome.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that's kind of the stuff that I kind of don't like about the Super Saiyan God part. Like, he gets up to Super Saiyan 3 on his own kind of thing. And it's like, it's a stage that he can only maintain for like a couple of minutes because it takes up so much of his energy. Right? And then like, he gets to Super Saiyan God, and it's like, he can do that like for as long as he wants. And it's just like, oh, well, so much for Super Saiyan level 3 that you like work so hard on, and makes you kind of look like a Cro-Magnon when you kind of, like, I don't know, his forehead, it's like, grows like twice as big, But it's like, yeah, but now it's just like, oh, well, nah, we're not doing that anymore, because probably the fact that they have to draw all the hair, is probably annoying. So they're like, no, he still has his regular hair, and that's it. But yeah, well, I do recommend, Dragon Ball Super. It is definitely way better than Dragon Ball Evolution. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Since I'm on an anime kick, because I'm like so behind on things. I finally watched Panty Stocking, which came out in like 2010. Yep. Mm-hmm. I thought it was very interesting. I enjoyed it. It's insanely foul-mouthed. Like, it reminded me of like a Beavis and Butthead type of like Ren and Stimpy, just completely just effed up cartoon. Like, it's very, I guess, westernized cartoon, but like sometimes it's like kind of Japanese at certain points.
It's heavily influenced by like Western cartoons and like Cartoon Network and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, like the actual...
like basically shoddy animation, swear words and vulgarity like all the time. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it was pretty funny.
I was saying like I think like it's definitely influenced because like a lot of anime is kind of like, not a lot, but a lot of it's kind of stylized realism, if that makes sense. Like, you kind of have like, people look like people in it, whereas in Panty and Stocking it's very much like, kind of the 90s Western cartoons where it's very angular. Like, if you remember like Justice League and Batman, they have like these very like angled features, sharp angles in order to
Batman
show,
always
like,
has
what
Superman always has that chiseled jaw, like
things like that. And that's the same thing with Panty and Stocking. They all have like this stylized, unique look that, it kind of reminds me of like, as you mentioned, like Ren and Stimpy and all those kind of shows. Yeah, I remember when I watched it. Well, did it come back out in 2011? Jesus, so long ago.
Yeah, I know. Like, I thought it was pretty recent. I mean, no, I'm really behind on this. So, like, that was one thing. I'm like, I've heard about it. I saw like AMVs with it. I'm like, yeah, this is kind of cool. Never checked it out until now, and yeah, I'm glad I did. So if you like something that's pretty edgy, I guess, definitely go for it. And yeah, I thought it was just pretty like a zany thing, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's actually going to be us for the week. So hopefully we'll be back next week and maybe get some more stuff done. And yeah, because that's the thing. Next month is pretty heavy. Like we got Tomb Raider. We got Tomb Raider. It could be something. We got that Annihilation movie with Natalie Portman. That's going to be on Netflix over here. For some reason.
Okay. I was hearing something about this Annihilation movie, like, just, like, kind of here and there, but it was just, like, because it's got, like, a bit of a generic name, I'm just like, Alienation. Well, Alienation. Annihilation.
Alienation.
Yeah, hey, man. Hey, it sounds like something I'd watch, but what's that movie about? Do you know?
I think it's a just kind of a sci-fi type of film. It's less action, but more, like, philosophical. Like, I think the writer of it is Alex Garland, who's the guy who did Ex Machina and Sunshine.
Oh,
so it's that guy.
Cool.
So he has a thing, so that movie's coming out on Netflix for some reason, so we're going to watch that, I guess. Tomb Raider film, which could be good, but now, since I'm getting closer to it, I think it's going to probably be pretty bad, but...
You reckon?
Yeah.
I like the actress.
Yeah, Alicia Vikander. Like, if I could date her, I would, but she's actually dating Michael Fassbender, so...
Really? Well, you can't beat Michael Fassbender.
I know, even I know that. So your Fassbender, let's see what else. Pacific Rim Uprising. That's
we'll see. It will from Star Wars.
It will probably be bad, but I'm just so happy that we got a sequel to Pacific Rim. Like, I never thought we'd get one.
Yeah, but it's not even with
the Toro.
Yeah, exactly. So it's probably not going to be good. Also, it has once again I'll mention John Boyega, aka guy from Star Wars, who's really bad and doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that's actually kind of true.
I'm sorry for anyone who does like The Last Jedi and Force Awakens and stuff. Like, Finn is definitely not a character anyone cares about. Legitimately, what does he do that's important other than being a space janitor who conveniently knows how to destroy Death Star planet? Dumb.
Yeah, like, once again, that character is very I guess, like, misplaced or, like, kind of just doesn't need to exist in Star Wars, I guess.
Just badly written. So yeah, I don't have much faith for it. I think the only thing I kind of like is I think he's supposed to be the son of the general character in Pacific Rim, and it kind of makes sense because his dad has like a British accent, and so does John Boyega. He has like a natural like British accent, so that kind of works. I kind of wish it kind of had like the same characters from the original Pacific Rim, but it's like, oh no, it's a new cast of people. Oh well.
Yeah,
I mean,
it kind of.
I get, as you said, like, we are lucky that we are getting a sequel to it. It's whether it's just going to be more of the same or whatever. More
action. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see what else we got. We got the Red Sparrow, that weird Jennifer Lawrence action thing that could be good, but I don't know. Probably don't have high hopes for that.
Didn't that win like a bunch of awards? I thought hasn't that already been out? Oh,
no. This is like an action film.
I must be confused. Oh, maybe I mentioned. Did we talk about how I got this confused with that other Atomic? Maybe I'm
Atomic
getting
Blonde?
it confused with Atomic Blonde. Perhaps
two female spy agents. Yeah, it's probably
from Russia.
Yeah. What do you know? It's always Russia, right?
The damn Russian spies.
Yep. Yeah. And then, of course, at the end of the month, is a film that I hope it's really good, but. Let's hope it's more substance than just cameos. It's actually Ready Player One. So,
yeah, that's true. It's I don't know.
It's Spielberg, guys, but then again, Spielberg is just like nowadays it's kind of like, yeah, I can do something good, but also I can do something bad. So,
yeah, well, I mean, it looks pretty cool. I liked all the like kind of nods to like characters. I remember there was like Iron Giant, and then there's like Deathstroke and Harley Quinn are in like a scene and stuff. So like, yeah, like it might be pretty cool. But yeah, like, it'd be very interesting to see, like VR's becoming bigger and bigger here, like in the world. So I can definitely see like that being something relevant and stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the movie. It might be good.
Yeah, like I'm looking forward to it, and I hope it's really good. So that's March, really. Like we got a pretty packed March. Like every week we got a solid film, and usually, you have to wait until like May to get like a jam packed full of films. But now it's getting closer. Now everything is throughout the whole year. It's pretty much busy.
There's films, yeah. I do remember it used to be quite a thing. It's like people would want to like slip in a film like during the summer, or like a particular like weekend or Easter or whatever it may be, try and capitalize. But now it's like, oh well, now this period between Easter and summer is also a really good period. So let's slip a film here. Like it's quite interesting how it's changed over the years just because of competition. And hey, who wins in the end? Consumers.
Who wins in the end? Disney, who owns a lot of the market
Well,
now.
true. That's also true. But hey, Disney, just keep making good films, and maybe I'll watch them. Okay, I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm probably not gonna watch Solo at the movies. Like it's like a stance I'm taking. Like I'm not interested in this film. The trailers don't do anything for me. It just seems like a really generic film that, like, once again, I'm pretty sure, like, in the trailer, they had like a Jedi in it as well. Like, somebody had, like, a blue lightsaber. Like, it might be me misremembering things, but from memory, I think it does have, like a character with, like, a blue lightsaber. And I'm just like, again, this is supposed to be in a period where, like, people believe Jedis are a myth, after, like, a couple of years. Like, I know, like, from a galaxy-wide, intervention, like, you can kind of send a lot of propaganda and stuff, but I don't know, just nothing about this film interests me at all.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like it's going to have one of those very generic stories, like Woody Harrelson's character is probably going to die or betray him because he's like the ultimate smuggler. Emilia Clarke's character is going to be either his love interest, and that she's either going to die or she's going to escape with his love child somewhere that you've never heard of in the galaxy because
Oh,
so then there's another Solo out there, and so either way it's going to be pretty generic. That's why I feel like you should. I always wanted like a kind of bounty hunter film where it's just a bunch of bounty hunters and they have like one final score, like a Ocean's 11 type of thing. I think that would be really cool instead of a Han Solo. Like no one wants Han Solo. You want every other character, but not Han Solo. That's the one character that you don't do.
No, I think a Han Solo film would have been good, just with Harrison Ford back when he was younger, right? Not now when he's basically too old to do a solo film. You're replacing the main actor with like some other guy. I don't even know who. Like not that it's important. It's just like, again, it's like, it's too late. Like, move on with Star Wars, or at least explore characters that might have a little bit more interesting, like, backstory. Like, I know, okay, here's the thing. Han Solo probably does have an interesting backstory, but part of it is, like, a mystery, right? Explore something in the universe that we haven't touched yet. This is why I want them to do, like, Old Republic stuff. Let's go, like, 10,000 years in, 10,000 years in the past or something, and do a story where, like, Jedis aren't dead and the world is suffering now and trying to kill off the future and get over dumb stuff like they tried to push in The Last Jedi. Oh, man, like, I'm still salty. That
trust
scene?
Me, I am.
You know that scene where the guy like licks the planet and it's like, it's salt. It's like the entire Star Wars fan base, That's how I feel, mate.
I feel like the goddamn planet.
Feel like the goddamn planet.
Yeah, but
like,
that's once again, that Solo film is going to be like how he met Chewie, how he's in servitude with his dad, how there's Lando in the goddamn film, so it's going to be like how they got the Millennium Falcon and won it. We're going to see the Kessler Run, all the things that we've heard about, but like when we see it, it's going to be like,
that's what it was.
Cool.
Like, it kind of cool.
Like, for example, that's why everyone's talking about like, Black Widow and Hawkeye should talk about what happened in that area. I'm like, no, you shouldn't do that. I feel like that's a cool joke, and like they talk about it. When they said they were.
I do remember.
In Budapest,
to be honest, the only film, what, I don't mind that. To be honest, I wouldn't mind, but the whole those scenes should be a flash only, right? Like it's like they mention things as like a reference. Have they had like a romantic past like in the movies? Is that what that's an implication of? I
feel like they could, but like
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't-
Now with the whole Bruce Banner thing, and like once again that's a whole
Jesus.
that's still a weird cliffhanger that no one freaking got through. That is dropped.
Yeah. It's really weird. Like, I don't understand it either, but like, again, it's just, Joss Whedon kind of dropped the ball. Speaking of which, Joss Whedon, kicked off Batgirl. Thank God. He pretty much didn't make it. Like, I think a lot of people kind of blame him for, Justice League, and, I think that's rightfully so.
Well, that's the thing. I thought a lot of people blamed Zack Snyder.
No, I think a lot of people blame the like new tone for Justice League on Joss Whedon, just because it's a more lighter kind of Marvel tone. And
once again, when we reviewed it, Justice League is basically a Marvel film. It's like it's one of those films where I'm like, oh man, that's the thing. That's why I felt like at least with Batman v Superman, it does have a very visual, good looking thing to it, and it keeps it consistent. But here nor there. But like, since he's kicked out, I was thinking about directors to do it, and I remember before Joss Whedon announced it, Nicholas Winding Refn wanted to direct a Batgirl film, and he's like an artistic director, so like he doesn't really make any mainstream films. He did The Neon Demon, he does a few films, and I think the main film that everyone knows him for is Drive. He did the movie Drive with Ryan Gosling, so he makes very like artsy fartsy stuff, Only God Forgives and things like that. So like, I like these films. He could do a really good job, but like, I don't think like the head of DC now is going to be like, yeah, dude, let's give this artistic guy his vision of Batgirl. They're probably right now, we need to make a universe out of this. So I feel like they wouldn't get him, but I wish they did.
My problem with something like a Bat Family spin-off movie is that it doesn't work. You need to do it like the Marvel movies. You have to have that Batman film, and then you have to have the Batman and Robin film. Like, again, not like Batman and Robin, but like as in like they introduce the character, and then maybe at the end they introduce Barbara Gordon, and then Barbara Gordon has her solo film, and then she's in like the Bat Family. Like, that's the organic way. And if you're not going to do that, just do it, put it on like CW. Like, I hope for God that like DC kind of did that thing where they're like, oh, we don't care if there's multiple people on the screen anymore. But then now they've gone back to caring again.
It's because they're giving getting studio heads, the new studio heads now. Now that they just keep on getting new ones, so it's like very weird. But like because like there's like I think there is a duplicate version of it now because they're making that Teen Titans TV show, like live action TV show, and then there's the I think they're trying to make a movie out of it, but once again, no one goddamn knows. The only thing that's filming at the moment is goddamn Shazam, which is one of those what Shazam? Seriously?
What have you seen the costume for the Robin for the Teen Titans TV series?
Yeah, it looks pretty classic to it.
Yeah, I love it. It's like everything that I probably would have wanted from like a modern Robin costume. And then like, it kind of, I think there's like, I don't know if it's because of how the Robin costume looked like in the Batman and Robin costume. Like, I didn't think it looked too bad, like outside of like, was that the one with all the nipples in it? I don't remember.
Good old Nipplegate. Yeah.
Bat nipples, right? But it's like, the costume didn't look bad in the movie. Like, it's a very 90s costume where they're like, oh yeah, again, we're trying to sell, toys here, right? But yeah, like, I like how it looks. I like the actor who plays it. I'm really interested to see how all that kind of stuff comes. But again, it's like, it makes more sense to do it in like an Arrow styled season for season over a couple of years of character development. Like, just imagine how cool Arrow would have been if it was just Batman.
If it was just Batman.
I say it as a joke, but legitimately, how much cooler would the Arrow TV series be if it was just originally just pitched as a Batman TV show, and it's Batman instead of being stuck on an island for 5 years, he's been gone overseas for 5 years, learning martial arts and training with Ra's al Ghul. And then fucking Ra's al Ghul comes back in season 3 because he said in season 1 he died or some shit. And then it makes sense why Ra's al Ghul is in the fucking show, unlike in Arrow. Jesus.
Yeah, that's really true. Like, once again, it reminds me of what's happening in Gotham as well, because I was actually looking at Facebook and looking at the comments, and it was just like, this is like one of the best shows on TV, and no one's watching it. And it's kind of true. Like, I think Gotham's gotten better, and there's a little bit of a build-up, but it's clearly a new take on Batman, like, where I feel like, you know, Bruce Wayne now should be, yeah, he is, like, now Batmaning it up now, instead of being, like, it's like a new version of it, and, you know, I don't mind it, so it's one of those things.
Yeah, I kind of wanted, Gotham, when Gotham originally came out, and maybe I said this on another podcast, but, it basically to be like, the GCPD, there's like a comic that came out which is just about like the police station, which is kind of like, you know, what it is about with Jim Gordon and stuff, but a lot of the support characters such as Montoya, like in there, she's in Gotham, but she's like I think like special police or something. She like wants to like investigate Gordon during like first season or something like that for like killing Penguin. But like outside of that, like she's not in the show anymore. Whereas like, you know, in the actual Gotham like comic book series, like, you know, she's a main character. She's like a really like popular character. She actually takes on the role of one of the superheroes. I don't know which one it is. The one that's based off Rorschach. He's got like a mask on his face.
Oh, I didn't know that was. But yeah, I think I know who you mean, but I don't know the name.
Yeah, like essentially, like she later, because that character dies and she dons the mask because the question.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so the question basically like the mantle. Like Montoya later takes on the mantle of the question, and I think they maybe do it in Justice League for a little bit. It might be like me misremembering it, but yeah, like as in the old TV series. But yeah, there's like some really cool stuff that they could do with like this series if they like tried and did it like that way, and have Batman be more of like a supporting character. Like he's like this, like he's still like this myth in the first 5 years in the GCPD or something. Like he's like this entity who slowly develops. Like you feel the conversation between Batman and Gordon from Gordon's perspective as opposed to Batman's perspective. Like maybe you get like the joke of Batman suddenly disappearing like mid conversation, but you kind of understand it's like, oh, he's being a asshole kind of thing, you know? But yeah, like that's what I want.
Oh yeah, that's another thing I watch. I'll touch on it briefly. Did you watch Gotham by Gaslight?
I haven't actually watched it yet, but thoughts? How is it?
I think it's a okay solid one, especially it's a period piece. I think it's like late 1800s. Yeah, I don't know if it's based off anything, but yeah,
it is based off the comic Gotham by Gaslight.
I didn't know there was a comic. That's very interesting. But yeah, it was
the Jack the Ripper killer. Yeah,
it was pretty much Jack the Ripper story, and Batman's literally there being like, hey man, we gotta solve this damn thing. And yeah, I thought it was solid. It does something very different for the characters. Obviously, with the animation stuff, you've got you can kind of do whatever you want with it, because it's kind of like you can do it. So like within the first like 2 minutes, they kill Poison Ivy. So it's like cool. You already established that this is like a anyone's game type of thing, and I enjoyed it. I feel like the animation's probably a little bit lacking, but can't really complain when something's like these movies get literally changed out like once every like 6 months basically.
Yeah, but like I don't know, man. DC used to be like high quality. Like when you think of DC animation, you're like, this is like top tier stuff, right? And after the disappointment of The Killing Joke, and that particular adaptation, like that's why I've been like putting it off a little bit. Like I read Gotham by Gaslight a very long time ago, but it's a really, really good comic. And I'm sure it does like, beat by beat, and if you like it, like, yeah, it's probably good, but it's just like, yeah, it just disappoints me when it's just like, just pay the extra money to make it like a quality product, so like it gets good word of mouth and people want to buy it, and people want to then read the comic and stuff like that. Like again, like it's like the same thing with like Watchmen. Like Watchmen the movie was really good, and that like inspired me to actually read the comic. And the comic is, and I've read the comic again because I started reading Doomsday, which has now been pushed back even further, which is kind of crazy.
I like how comic book schedules are like, oh shit, we're not going to do this now. Let's push everything back.
Well,
that's like the only industry that can do that
in a sense. I think the reason why they can also do it with Doomsday Clock is because originally it was going to be like a fortnightly release of the comic, but then they're like, no, we better actually push it back because of, so I think with some of the scheduling with the comic, because essentially the Doomsday Clock arc, and just so people are aware, basically the Doomsday Clock is kind of a semi-sequel to Watchmen, in which the Watchmen cast, specifically Dr. Manhattan, has been shown to have some kind of influence or is influencing the DC universe, and the characters are caught in the middle of like trying to figure out what he's done and what does it mean. And currently it's quite interesting because there's a lot of political intrigue, stuff like there's like a superhero arms race because it's like kind of similar to like the Cold War, with like America developing like nuclear arms and Russia, they're as a show of force. And so a lot of people around the world are thinking, oh well, all these superheroes are coming out of America, like America is like experimenting and creating humans, and they're kind of touching on like a similar concept to X-Men, which is like the metagene stuff or the X gene.
Yeah, the X gene,
right?
Yeah.
The X gene, but they call it like, they don't give it like a direct name, or they don't call those people like mutants. They just say like, oh, there's like a set of genes in the human body that like under certain duress like results in like powers. And they do that on purpose, so like they don't have to kind of explain how it comes about. And I think that's fine. Like nobody really cares about how these people get their powers. It's like they have the powers. All right, cool. How does the world react, and how do they use the powers for like the greater good and blah blah blah? How does that affect them? That's the more important stuff. And so Doomsday Clock is, Batman is trying, teaming up with the new mysterious Rorschach too. Who is this guy? Who knows? And it's all really cool and interesting. But like a lot of things that you can see is like, for example, Batman's symbol has changed from his new rebirth symbol, which is kind of like a black with like a yellow outline around it, to like a very more traditional, like, how he's got the black bat on a yellow background.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He kind of goes
inverse.
So yeah, so it's like so it's kind of got like that. It's like the old Michael Keaton Batman symbol, right? Like that's what it kind of looks like.
Yeah, I love that.
And and the thing is, like, it's kind of showing that this story is actually happening in the future, because currently Batman hasn't changed his suit yet, right? And so they're like, they probably looked at this comic schedule for like Batman and Superman and many other characters, and they're like, all right, cool, we have to kind of push this back even further. So that means like, I think they're releasing a Doomsday Clock like once every month. So by the time it comes out, it'll be, the comics will catch up by the end of where Doomsday Clock finishes. So it's a really interesting time schedule that they have to do, because in that comic, like, people are reading ahead of time, whereas like if you read the current Batman arc, it's in technically past.
Yeah, they'll probably just be like, oh, how did this happen? And then you're like, okay, now I know how it happens.
Yeah, exactly. But comics, man, it's complicated.
Yeah, it is. But once again, we're talking about the animated things. Apparently, there's a new one coming out, another one, right? Another one. It's a period piece, and it's the I think it's Batman in feudal Japan. I think that one.
Oh yeah. Cool. Yeah, Batman Ninja. Even though Batman is ninja, it throws me off.
It's like, how is he a ninja?
Even though he's got like a samurai sword and stuff like that. You know what? To be fair, it's just got.
What's the thing? Isn't Ra's al Ghul and all that stuff technically ninjas, sort of? So like, I don't know.
Well, they are ninjas in the movie, like the media that they're in, but like, ninjas. I don't know if it's the other way around. I'm pretty sure ninjas.
The ninjas are the ones that got like, rogue.
Yeah, something like that. But anyway, the thing is, I'm kind of interested in the ninja just because it's like got a pretty interesting like animation style. It's got a pretty interesting story. The one thing I'm kind of confused about is like Batman's transported to ancient Japan and then he makes his own Japanese Nightwing, another Japanese like Robin, Japanese Batgirl, and it's like, so the only people who, from his like world or from his future is just the Joker, who's taken over Japan, and I'm just like, okay, you should have just brought the entire cast of like the Bat family along with it. It just makes it seem like a lot less awkward than like, oh yeah, now we have like Japanese Nightwing. It just seems like he has like, you know, a little bit of issues, you know,
He's
like
Batman's like, oh, Bruce Wayne's all alone. It's like, man, I need to find myself a family.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's
literally.
like, you Asian kid, can you fight? Okay, you're my Nightwing now.
Yeah, like, well, that's kind of how it is, man. You know what? I'm all for them doing out there things. I'm more interested in when they eventually release Young Justice Season 3.
Oh yeah, that's gonna come. Do you know the release date? Is
I
there a release
have
date?
no idea, but I assume it's gonna be like late 2018. I remember seeing that there was some news in regards to Young Justice, like somebody put out like on Twitter, like, you know, it's like, oh, what's going on with Young Justice? And one of the creators were like, oh yeah, I'm just doing like the final like editing for this episode now, and they're like, yeah, like, you know, so there are things.
Because it did end on a cliffhanger, and it was like, oh, and it got cancelled, so it was like, okay, and once again, it's a good show, especially season 2. I think season 2 was like, oh man, this got a lot better than when it did in season 1, but like.
Well, to be honest, I kind of didn't like the time skip part. Like, I like
you wanted the younger versions.
Well, I think like again, it's like the whole thing about like let's grow with the characters a little bit and then put them like the whole like going to the future thing or like them like a time skip should happen like season 3. It's like people who just got into the show, they're like, oh, I want to know more about like Dick Grayson as Robin and stuff like that. But then it's like, all right, now we've got a new Robin. Like, oh, okay. And it's going to be this, I reckon it might be the same thing for the new Young Justice. Like, you know, we just got Tim Drake as Robin for season 2. It's like, well, now it's Damian Wayne. Not that I have a problem with that. I'm a big fan of Damian Wayne as Robin. Some people aren't. But yeah, it's like, my thing is like, well, come on, like, let's kind of figure out and learn a little bit more before you kind of cast them away. But that's just my opinion. And I think like, I think that probably contributed a lot to people, like kids being like, oh, who's this person? Like, there's a reason why kids like, what is it? The Teen Titans Go.
Yeah. Surprisingly.
because it's just like, yeah, but it's like, it makes sense. It's like these like characters that they're familiar with doing cool, wacky things. And like, that's all they don't change every season kind of thing. Whereas like for Young Justice, it's definitely fine for like maybe a more adult audience or a more mature audience because they can kind of keep track with what's going on. But like, you know, when you try and market it, you know, it didn't sell a lot of toys. Like that's legitimately what one of the creators said, like, hampered, it getting a season, 3 because, well, there wasn't any money in it, you know, like they can't sell toys.
It's weird how that works.
Hey, yeah, I mean, Mattel, they're pretty powerful when it comes to, making, TV shows live or die. But yeah, like, I'm interested in seeing what happens in Young Justice. I reckon they're not going to do anything related with Darkseid, because you know what, they kind of leave it, that's the cliffhanger. It's like, oh no, like, the heroes, there's something about Darkseid invading. I reckon they're going to skip over that completely, and it's just going to be a new story. Like, it leaves on a cliffhanger, but then, like, it doesn't matter. It's like one of those things that's just like,
yeah.
Oh, it doesn't matter. We kind of moved on from it. It's like, come on. We've got a new thing. We're fighting, I don't know, the Justice League this time, or some shit.
Yeah, once again, that would probably work.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah. So yeah, that's going to be up for us for this week. So yeah, there's not much else to say. I think we pretty much covered the full gambit. So until next time, I guess we'll see you later. So see ya.
Catch ya.